Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's show. It is mailbag time, so load up those questions, and we'll answer as many as we can on the show. Big Hoss says, how do the Bears make things right with Roquan Smith? If he balls out this year, they pay him. I mean, that's how you make it right. There's two sides to a story. I don't think it's necessarily like one way or the other in terms of who was more in the wrong. I do think Roquan not having an agent doesn't help out matters for either side, quite frankly. But play well this year, get paid in the offseason. That's how things can be made right. Kurt Morrow, seeing polls operate, you think they offered Roquan an incentive-heavy deal, and that's why he felt insulted, maybe $15 million with $5 million in incentives. I don't think like on the first few years it was like that. I'm guessing the last year or two basically had a get out opportunity for the Bears where they could cut him with minimum dead cap penalty and minimum having to pay Roquan penalty. So maybe it was something like that, but I don't know. I haven't seen the contract offer, so until we do, I would just be speculating. Mandalakalice, I hope I pronounced that right. How many touchdowns do you see the offense having this year? For a year, I mean, 17 games, you would hope for 3 per game at least, and then, a couple field goals. If you have 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals per game, you average 27 points. That's a good number. If this team averaged 27 points per game, I think we'd be pretty happy. So how about 50 touchdowns? That's just under 3 a game. That's 3 per game minus 1. So 50 touchdowns, I mean, realistically, low mid-40s I think would be a decent number for this team right now. So somewhere in that range. Notorious TBG using hashtag Bears. From what you've seen from the Bears and the Lions, Hard Knocks, how you feeling about $50 bet with Don Brown? Who's going to have a better record? I mean, look, I think both teams are going to play hard. Both teams are going to be scrappy. I think the Lions have bought into Dan Campbell. I think the Bears have bought into Eberflus. I still think, though, even though Justin Fields has a lot to prove, I'll go to bat with him over Jared Goff. I just will. Goff is what he is at this point. He's a bridge quarterback at best. I'm going to bank on Fields being a little bit better, and I think this Bears defense will be better than the Lions. Lions O-line is good, though. They'll probably be able to run the ball fairly well. So, yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I don't think the Lions are just we play them week 4, week 8, whenever it is, and, that's 2 wins. You're going to have to play hard and play well to beat them this year. Name a player you would have cut. So we're doing this mailbag after the Bears cut 5 players. Who would you have cut, or who would you cut next week? Let us know in the comments section who that player would be. Comic J, do you think that they will overcut in the final cut to pick up surprise players? You don't have to do it that way, Comic. They'll cut down to 53, and then they'll see what the other cuts are across the league. And if they want to go put a claim out for any of those players, they will. And if they get the claim, if they get that player, at that point they would have to cut somebody else. So that's how that works, Comic. They don't necessarily have to cut down to 51 or something like that. Zane Gray with the super chat, getting this started here. Poles said this roster could look very different before opening day. He did say that. Obviously, this could just be trimming to the 53, but if Poles meant he would sign for free agency or trade, who might Poles sign? I think a couple of areas I could see here. Number one, another outside corner. If they are going to play Kyler Gordon in the nickel a lot, you are kind of thin at outside corner. I mean, Jalen Johnson's good. Do you trust Kendall Vilder as the full-time guy out there? Even if you do, who do you have after that as your next best outside guy? Is Thomas Graham going to kick outside? I guess he could. Tavon Young's not an outside corner. I don't want Lamar Jackson getting real playing time. If they want to keep and develop him, sure, but I don't think he's ready to play right now. So I think outside corner. Now in base sets, I think Gordon will play out there, but you're going to be in nickel more often than 4-3. Another spot, receiver, obviously. If there's a receiver that becomes available, say a Jalen Reagor gets cut, or a Andy Isabella, a Preston Williams, some guys who aren't great but could be a little better than your number 4, number 5, number 6, if you feel that way. If you're Ryan Poles, I think that could be a possibility as well. So I think those are a couple of areas. I don't necessarily think O-line at this point. I think the O-line is mostly set. It's not going to be running back, not going to be tight end. Safety looks good. Maybe a defensive tackle, but I think outside corner and receiver are 2 areas that could look a little bit different. Anthony Rocco, if Nikhil Harry makes the 53, what do you anticipate his production will be? Is there any upside for him? Well, number one, he's a great blocker, and they're going to run the ball a lot in this scheme, and you need your receivers to be active blockers. He can help in that regard. And as a big-body target, listen, I don't think Harry's ever going to be that big downfield weapon, 1,000-yard per season type of player that we thought he could be coming out of Arizona State. But that doesn't mean he can't help, doesn't mean he can't produce. I predict that he will make the initial 53, then they'll put him on short-term IR and bring up someone else temporarily until he's healthy. So that's what I think will happen. But I think in terms of role, blocker, sometimes as a big body guy, maybe in the red zone. Josh Dennison, what do you think about putting Jenkins at tackle, Borum at guard? Heard Olin Kreutz recommend it. I think they're rolling with Jenkins at right guard. I think they're comfortable there. I think they feel like he can start. And, while Borum's still a bit of a work in progress, I just think at some point you got to stop shuffling. You got to feel good with what you have. Borum has not gotten hardly any reps at guard. I think they're okay with him at right tackle. So, yeah, I think how it sits right now is going to be how it's going to be. Maybe Riley Reef starts at right tackle instead of Borum, but I think Jenkins, they're going to keep him at right guard. They've moved him around too much already. I don't think any more shuffling is going to come. Be sure to follow and subscribe to us on the Call-In app. It's a audio social podcasting app. We do weekly live shows. If you're watching live here on Tuesday, we're going to go live again at 3 o'clock Central Time. We'll also go live after the Browns game this weekend. Post-game shows. Your chance to call in. We've had some technical difficulties the last week or so, but we've been working on that. Hopefully those will be resolved. Chatsports.com/Bears Callin. Subscribe to us on Callin, and we will see you guys over there. Your chance to call into the show and give us your takes and ask your questions. Fish, can we make a wild card this year? Yeah, I think it's possible. Bears have the second easiest schedule based on win-loss from last year. New coaching staff. You won 6 games last year with the second hardest schedule and an incompetent coaching staff. Can you win 3 more with the competent coaching staff and the second easiest schedule? Not saying it works like that, but to just completely rule it out as a possibility, I don't think that's fair either. I think there's a chance. Little squad, who do you think will be the surprise cut candidate for the final cuts? A surprise. I'll give you a surprise. I don't think it'll happen, but I think Michael Schofield could get cut. If you're going to start Tevin Jenkins, I think Ja'Tyre Carter is going to make the team. He's clearly better than Zach Thomas, but if you want to keep a young guy on the active roster, reward him, a guy you drafted, you could cut Schofield. Maybe he can go sign and maybe start with another team. Not predicting it, but I think he could be a surprise cut candidate. I would prefer to keep him as a swing guard for this team. I think that's pretty valuable, but that would be a potential surprise cut that could happen. Subscribe to the channel here at Chicago Bears Now. We're going to have videos all season long. Football is back. I can't wait for it. Final preseason game Saturday, which is going to be a lot of fun. We'll be live for a watch party there. YouTube.com/Bears Now. Subscribe and don't miss any of our coverage here on the channel. Danny B, what do you think our record will be this year, seeing the first couple of preseason games? I don't want to put too much stock into preseason. I think the Bears' ceiling is like 10 or 11 wins, and the floor is 4 or 5 wins. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I want to say like 7-10, but really competitive 7-10, maybe 8-9. Like I said, I don't think 9-8, 10-7 is impossible. The schedule's manageable, and if Fields takes enough of a leap and gets enough help around him, I don't see why it can't happen. If you just made me guess right now, I'd say 7 or 8 wins. Maybe 7-10, but really competitive, really close in a bunch of games. Sean Robinson, who will be the starting 5 offensive linemen? If you had to ask me today, I think it's going to be what we've seen the last week or so, and that's from left to right, Braxton Jones at left tackle, Cody Whitehair at left guard, Sam Mustipher or Lucas Patrick at center. If Patrick's healthy, he'll play center. If not, Mustipher the starting center. Right guard, Tevin Jenkins. I think as long as he plays, has a good week of practice, I think he'll start there. And then I think Larry Borum, but maybe Riley Reef at right tackle. That might be the biggest question mark, but I'll go with Borum for now. Steve Cage, how do you think Herbert has looked so far? I think Ebner might be better. Ebner's been flashier, but he's got a long way to go in blitz pickup, pass protection. He's got to improve there. Herbert, he's been a little quiet. He also hadn't played a ton. So I still think he's the RB2 at this point in time. I'll put it this way. I think Ebner is closer to Darrington Evans for RB3 and 4 than he has Khalil Herbert. At least I think that's how the Bears view it, because I just think they trust Herbert as the RB2. Do you trust Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Do you trust this new Bears regime? Got time for a few more. See a super chat. We'll get to that in a second. Who reported Brisker had surgery? I keep hearing people say, yeah, he had thumb surgery. We broke the news that he was injured, and then we found out later that day that he had surgery, so I didn't do a new video on it. But, yeah, surgery on the thumb. Bears are hopeful he'll play in the opener. At most, he'd miss one game. But I have a feeling the way he's wired, he's going to be out there against San Francisco. David Schilcher just came to say F, G, B. Hey, F Green Bay, baby. Always, 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 always. Appreciate it, David. Big Hoss, first off, FGB. Get the FGBs going in the live chat. Secondly, at this point, is it worth signing Odell? Also, what's some good tips on growing the beard? Hey, man, just let it go. Little beard oil, little conditioner. Going to keep it looking all right. Those are a couple tips. But there was a loose rumor out there that the Bears are interested in Odell. I think that was fake news report. But I think he wants to sign a contender, so I don't think he's going to come to Chicago. Last one from Jacob, unless we get a super chat here. Do you think there will be a bigger split of carries between David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert this season? Possibly. I do think they're going to rotate some. So, yeah, I think Herbert's going to get a decent amount of touches. Monty will be the lead back. I don't necessarily view it as a bell cow situation, though. I think guys will rotate in. Ebner could get into that mix as well. So, yeah, I think there will be some of that, Jacob.